Hello, everybody, and Happy New Year. Welcome back to another episode of Intuitive Insights. I am your host, Dr. Yolanda Dukes, and I have an amazing guest with me today, Dr. Monica Rowan Brillhart, and we have an epic topic for you guys today. Actually, one of my favorite topics, although heart-wrenching and difficult to get through, but we're talking about the dark night of the soul. We'll be discussing our personal experiences and how you can get through the dark night of the soul. Believe it or not, there is hope after all that loss and all that confusion. Welcome, Dr. Brillhart. How are you this morning? Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you. I'm doing great. I am excited about this topic, even though it's a dark topic, but that's what it is.
So how would you explain that to somebody? How would you define the dark night of the soul?
Well, it's important to know the difference between the dark night of the soul and situational depression, which is very different. It's different than saying, oh, I'm having a bad week, I'm having a bad month. The dark night of the soul is something that gets to the very core of you, and it shakes up your foundation, and it challenges you to really rise above and question a lot of your current limiting beliefs. You question your maybe external beliefs and what you've always held as important. And the most important thing I think that people need to know about the dark night of the soul is that everybody has one, at least one. And furthermore, don't be alarmed if you notice that your dark night lasts a really long time, because the dark night of the soul is a process, and it's an important process. But on the other hand, you're not going to get over it in 6 months. And in fact, mine went on for years, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that, like going through life thinking, oh, I feel so victimized. Why is everything happening to me? And, it's just one pummeling after another that you take throughout these hardships. And usually the hardships call into question a lot of your own beliefs and a lot of your own beliefs within yourself. And so really what it is your soul trying to grow. It's trying to break out of those old patterns that aren't serving you anymore and moving on to something really positive and healing, and in alignment with God, with Source, with the universe.
I like that you said it's like your soul breaking out, because it is very much like a chick coming out of an egg, and you really are breaking through all the stuff that you've been taught. You are going to be questioning your religion, even your nationality, your origin, your place of residence, who you're with. Everything comes into perspective when you're having this experience. Did you have a lot of loss in the beginning?
Right. So I think there's actually a much bigger thing that happens than just things happening to you. So I think, first of all, we all get into this habit of living, and we sort of forget to align ourselves with our souls and what is important within us, rather than what everybody else is telling us that's important. And often we'll ignore what, internally we hold dear, and we just start living life, and it becomes very habitual. And then all of a sudden we start getting knocked around by, let's say, a divorce, or the loss of a loved one, or maybe, even the birth of a child. That'll stir you up too. That's a huge deal. All these major life things that happen to you, and they knock you around. And when you're not in alignment, when you're not right within yourself, then it all starts feeling extra, extra, extra heavy. And that's exactly what you're talking about with feeling like, gosh, am I with the right person? Am I doing the right thing with my life? What happened to that kid that I used to be that was so carefree and joyful, and why do I feel so gross now, and so that is kind of what happened to me. I felt like I needed to ignore all of my hopes and dreams, which is always a great thing to do. And I'm being very sarcastic right now. I'm just going to ignore my whole soul and what my soul wants. And I'm going to do this thing where, you got to, go to college and you got to pay the bills and you got to get the job. And now I have this job and people want me to advance in this job. And, they want me to put in more hours. And it just snowballs from there. You find yourself living for what other people think that you need to be doing and not really honoring what is true within yourself. So that when these huge life things happen to you, like, maybe you're involved in an accident, maybe you lose your job, which is, just gut-wrenching, you feel so worthless, right? Those things take a lot more of a toll when you're living in a place of, but everybody told me that this is the way I should be living. And then you come to find out, no, that's not the case at all. And I remember going to work one day and, it's my 9-to-5 job. And I swear that it's not a coincidence that statistically most heart attacks happen on Monday mornings at about 9 o'clock. I don't think it's an accident because I think so many of us end up in these jobs that, you're just going to do it for a while. It was never supposed to be your, job forever, but it turns into it and then you're unhappy. So I'm driving to work and I literally felt as if my spirit wanted to just burst from my body. And I don't mean that in a good way. I mean, my spirit was saying, I don't know what you are doing right now, but this is not it. And I have been telling you again and again and again and again in so many different ways, I don't like this. And so it just wanted to leave me. I mean, it just like, I'm abandoning this girl because she doesn't have it together at all. And, it's a horrible, horrible feeling. And it's not what is intended for us at all. I mean, I think one of my favorite quotes by Oprah is that intuition is the voice of God. And we often ignore that intuition. We find ourselves in these deep, despairing places for just years. And then we start questioning everything. And it's our soul. It's our soul trying to talk to us and tell us, would you please listen to me for a change? So, I get everything that you're saying. It makes perfect sense.
I think what seems to be so difficult about the experience is not being able to see past it. I mean, for me, I'm thinking, well, I have this degree and I have this job and it was what I really wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't indicative of creativity and it wasn't indicative or in alignment with my soul.
Right.
And my intuition kept telling me, you're going to be okay. You can't do this job anymore. And I said, I don't think so. I'm going to do what I want to do because I am who I am. Well, you're not. And you are going to work, but things are going to be different. And you're going to be making videos and you're going to be more into spirituality. And none of that made sense to me 7 years ago. I was like, what am I making videos about? That just seems stupid.
And here we are.
So that's what makes it difficult. So if you're listening out there, you can't see what's going to come. You have no idea. I didn't know I was going to leave California and end up in Dallas, but I am incredibly thankful that I did. My relationship ended very, very abruptly and I was in shock. But what comes back, oh my God, talk about hot loving. I'm glad it ended. Thank you for leaving. Life is good. But I couldn't see that, it was like, oh my God, you love me. No one loves me. Oh my God, But what comes back?
Yeah. I mean, it's so true. I mean, you have to give up things in order to receive the new good things, and we cling a lot, and we don't want to let go to things that that we worked so hard to build. I think it's called the sunk cost fallacy, where you've spent so much time investing in something, the thought of letting it go, even if it's crappy, like I'm in the crappiest marriage ever and I've been in it for 20 years, but I've already invested 20 years in this guy. I'm not going to just scrap it all now. But, what are you really doing? It's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. And we have to learn to listen to that still small voice within us, which we've kind of had it programmed out of us. We've had throughout adulthood, the whole point of adulthood, or the whole false point of adulthood is people telling you this is how it's supposed to look. That voice inside, that's just your feelings. We don't want to pay attention to feelings. Let's use our heads. It's always going to get you in trouble. And I also, just like you, have gone through divorce and being single mom of a child who is, barely 2 years old, and having to kind of bear all of that. And what does that look like, And man, talking about calling everything into question, why did I marry that guy? Did I do the right thing? Oh my gosh, and then it's just self-doubt just perpetuates on top of each other. So yeah, the important thing is to know that you're not alone. And we all have to go through this at some point. It's actually a good thing, even though it doesn't feel like a good thing. It's just the universe saying, you are way too comfortable with this apathy that you have created in your own life. I'm going to make you extra uncomfortable until you go within and you change. And it's for your own good. It's like that, your mom coming up and saying, brush your teeth. It's for your own good. And it doesn't feel like it. You don't want to brush your teeth. You're 4. But it turns out she's right.
Most definitely. I know there was a point for me where it was so dark. Like I didn't want to live through it. And I just kept, please help me, just something, please help me. And my intuition kept going, I will not. You are going to have to help yourself do this. Your intuition does not work, because I'm an intuitive person. I usually follow my gut, and nothing was working. No other job, nothing was coming through. And I was feeling pretty low, but I had to get to that point to figure out who I was living for. I couldn't continue to live for my children. I couldn't continue to live for a relationship. I had to figure out where my personal joy was. That's what it came down to for me.
You are so right. And I think you just hit upon a huge epiphany that most people don't even think about, and that's joy. And you get involved in the grind of living and you forget, oh yeah, there's this joyful feeling that I haven't felt in a really long time. And when it comes to getting through the dark night of the soul, that was actually the thing that saved me. And I had lost joy in pretty much everything. There was nothing I could think of that sounded good to me. Hey, do you want to go to a movie? Do you want to go do that? And even the things that once brought me a lot of joy no longer brought me joy. Like I've always been a writer and I loved writing. I lost my joy in that. And so you get to this rock bottom, or I got to a rock bottom where I thought, oh my gosh, I have no joy in my life at all. I love my family and they love me. But when it comes to the daily, get out of bed, my first thought, if your first thought in the morning when you wake up is no, Lord, help me through the day, you're in trouble. This is not a good way to start your day. And that's exactly where I got. And so one day I thought, I don't have any joy. And coincidentally, around that same time, my brother and I tend to always be on kind of the same spiritual path. And, even though we moved away from each other, when we graduated high school, somehow, even though we don't really keep in touch terribly often, we always end up on the same spiritual track. And I think that's awesome. But one day he emailed me and I was going through my dark night of the soul. And he said, hey, I saw this thing online. I've always really been interested in metaphysics, and I know that you're interested in metaphysics too. And he's like, I looked into this school, and it sounds pretty cool. It sounds reputable. It's one of the oldest metaphysical schools in the world, and I think it might be the oldest. And he said, I think you should check it out. So I checked it out, and here's the thing. I felt intrigue. Now, it wasn't joy, but it was intrigue. So I thought, oh, well, I haven't been interested in anything lately, and this is a little small, I would call it a sliver of joy, it's that intrigue. It's that thing that makes you go, actually, yeah, I have always been interested in that. And so what I would encourage people to do at times when you're at that point and you're at rock bottom and you can't find joy, because, being in a depression it sucks the energy out of you. You don't have the energy to put into trying to get yourself out of it, because it takes energy to get out of depression. It's like being in a hole and you can see that there's the top of it. You just don't know how to get out of it. What you need is a ladder. You need somebody to hand you a ladder. And that ladder is actually that one thing, find one thing that brings you joy. And if it doesn't look like joy, it might look like intrigue. It might look like interest, like, actually, I have always wanted to play the guitar. Actually, I did think about, learning how to mountain climb. Whatever it is, whatever thing it is, it might seem silly. Take it, because that's your path to following your soul. Because when you feel the intrigue and you feel the joy, that's your soul perking up and saying, hey, I like that. Can you listen to me now? Can you maybe do that thing? And that'll get you at least back on the right path. It's a ladder. It's a ladder to help you climb out. You still have to do the work, but it'll definitely help. So what was your thing? What was your joy?
Well, I signed up for the school, and I was, it took a while. It wasn't immediate because I was still in the depression thing. I would really say Phil came into my life and said, there's nothing wrong with you. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. You are incredible. And I never had anybody, and that sounds funny, but I never had anybody lick my brain who really wanted to know what was inside of me. Because, look at you, you're a pretty girl too. So, men like you, but they want to be next to you, but they don't want to get to know you, sort of thing.
Sure.
And it was the very opposite. He wanted to know my soul. So when I started to bare my soul, he was even more intrigued. And he wasn't into spirituality previously, but he does his own study now. I didn't have to talk him into or goad him into. He started meditating on his own. He got very interested in metaphysics, and it just kind of snowballed because he let me be free. He didn't say, you need to do A, B, C, and D. I said, I'm going to do a YouTube channel, and I'm thinking about interviewing people. And he said, that sounds great. I hope you have fun. When I wanted to, get through school, go for it. You have my full support, whatever you need. And he was there every step of the way. And I found my joy. I found the work that is incredibly fulfilling. I love doing the YouTube. It gives me joy. It gives my guests joy. And it's something that I can do, so I think it was him. A lot of it was him pulling out and telling me it's okay. Because previously, you're weird, or that's different, or, well, why would you even want to learn French? And why would you want to learn Spanish? And why do you read so much? And, you're weird. You got all these degrees. You're just weird. For him, it was just like, oh, that's intriguing. You're smart. And we just talk. We have these beautiful, in-depth conversations that it just lights my soul on fire. It really does. I'm in love with everything now.
That is so awesome. I love hearing that. I mean, I think you actually said something really cool earlier, and that you had mentioned that you got to the point where you said, help me,
Yeah.
help me. And I think that is an interesting point to bring up too, because most people don't think that surrendering is going to be an empowering move. And because it sounds completely contradictory, right? Surrender, well, that sounds disempowering. It isn't at all. And you kind of have to get, especially when you're going through the dark night, which often there's things coming at you that you can't control. I mean, somebody dies, you can't control that, or somebody leaves you. They've probably been thinking about that. You probably can't change that, nor would you want to. If somebody doesn't want to be with you, you need to let them go. You get fired. So all these things are coming at you, and there is no resisting it, because it just is. And so many people, and I'm one of them, because I'm so stubborn. No, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to hang on. I'm going to hang on, and I've got this. I've got it. But we don't. And if we can just learn to first say, you know what? This is where I am. You have to accept where you are and what's going on. You have to say there's certain things that I have no control over whatsoever, but I have control over what's within myself. And the only thing that I can do is control how I respond to what's coming at me. And that's half the battle. I mean, that's half the battle, just kind of stopping the resistance.
I had to write it down. I give up. I remember that. I had to write it down. I give up. Whatever it is you want me to see. And I mean, I see completely, hindsight's always 20/20. I didn't even have a proper definition of what love is, or even proper models or examples of what love would look like for me, and unless I gave up those ideas, it's not giving up on your life. I give up on the idea of what I was taught. I give up on this false belief system, because what came back to me was astounding, absolutely astounding. Somebody told me that this was a relationship of laughing and giggling and support and love. I would think that was going to come into my, into my preview, but it's here and I accept it wholeheartedly.
Yeah, that's actually kind of interesting. I don't know if you've read Trevor Noah's book, Born a Crime. It's about him growing up during apartheid in South Africa, and how he was born in a biracial relationship. So that was illegal, man. You can't be doing that. And so he was literally born a crime. And one of the things that he says is people's dreams they can only imagine as much as they've been exposed to. I mean, if you're a kid growing up in South Africa during apartheid, and your biggest dream might be to have a bathroom in your house, who knows? So we don't really, in your case, for example, you probably never even imagined that there could be a relationship like that, because it wasn't even within your scope of something that you could even conceive of, So, and then what you said about you just give up. You're just like, you know what, bring me what you will. And I've always thought it was kind of amazing how once you give up your preconceived ideas about what your own life was supposed to look like, and you start listening, really tuning in, meditating, paying attention to your intuition or the voice of God, the universe is going to throw stuff at you right and left. Well, how about this guy? Do you like that guy? And yes, that guy's awesome. Well, what about this job opportunity? Would that be better? Yes, that would be better. But you have to let go of what you've held on to so much in order for those opportunities to even come.
What do they say? You cannot be, you can't experience what you're not the vibration of. So, just like you said, if you have no idea, like I had no idea, I started to let go. Oh well, did I foresee? Oh, I'd be opening in my own office in Dallas. No idea. I didn't want to leave California. I was clinging to it with every fingernail and toenail I could just didn't want to do it, But he made a safe place I could do it, And then he's like, in order in order to be happy, we have to leave California. He was born there too. So, you know, your birthplace, you're attached to.
Where in California were you guys?
We came from Sacramento.
Oh, all the way up there. Okay. Yeah.
I was born in Southern California and moved to Hawaii. I was in Hawaii for a few years, moved back to Southern California, and then moved to Sacramento. Now I'm in Dallas. The things that I would not have been able to afford to do in California, I can easily afford to do here in Dallas. Right. So it was just smooth. It's been wonderful. My work is extremely fulfilling. I see people from a completely different perspective. Injuries, bodily defects, things that are going on with people are so deeply rooted in past life experiences. Where before I just thought, well, what does that have to do with anything, really, if it happened in a past life? But the loss from those lives really translates into this life, you know. And when you have a session, you really do discover more about yourself. It's really deep. And you've had an experience too. You've had a past life regression you mentioned before.
Yeah, I mean, I think that by paying attention to that, you know, I mean, that was something that was a passion for you, that immediately once you say, that interests me, and it's in alignment with your soul, then there's really no stopping you after that. I mean, things are going to come at you constantly. Opportunities will come toward you constantly, which is why I think it's so important to take that step back and to say, wait a minute, what's my soul telling me? Not what does grandpa tell me, you know, I'm supposed to do, or my best friend, or, you know, what's acceptable, what's cool. But no, what's my soul telling me? And it doesn't have to be gigantic. I mean, it doesn't have to be lofty. It doesn't have to be, I want to be a famous, you know, architect, and I want to be in the movies, I want to win an Oscar. It doesn't have to be any of that. It might be something very simple, but it's something that makes your soul happy. And at the end of the day, what matters more than that?
Nothing. Really, absolutely nothing. And one of the things I found going back to that was really helpful is Marshall Summers with his new message from God. He has a 365-day meditation that for me was very prophetic. And as I'm going through it, and it's telling me that I am changing and that my life is about to change. And literally when I got upon those words, everything in my life changed. Within really 36 hours, life was completely different.
Yes.
Worth it. Hard. It's so heartbreaking, but worth it.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I had mentioned that I had given up writing, and I came out of the womb writing. I was writing novels when I was 5 years old. I mean, they were silly. They were like, you know, the tornado that killed everyone in Kentucky, you know, I mean, that was in a little picture book or whatever. But I was doing it from a really young age because it was the thing that brought me joy. So when I lost that, you know, heartbreaking, like, why do I not feel that anymore? And, you know, the intrigue that I felt about going back to school, which I did, actually opened up this whole other the course of opportunities. Because what I noticed is after, I want to say about a year or two of taking a break from writing, I would be on the couch watching television, and all of a sudden I would get these visions. And I thought, oh, these are like little visions of a story, but I don't write. You know, I refuse. I'm not going to do it anymore. It doesn't make me happy. I'm not doing it. And slowly but surely the visions progressed, and they increased, and they woke me up in the middle of the night. And I got really angry because I'm a stubborn person. And so that's going to be my first response, is that I don't write. Don't give me these ideas. And I especially don't write this crap, you know, because it wasn't what I would normally write. And I went on a hike one day with my husband, and I was ranting, because that's what I do. I get it all out, vent. And I said, I don't write this crap, and I don't write it all. And he said, well, maybe you do. And I said, no, I really don't. And he said, well, maybe what this is showing you is it's time to rediscover the joy of writing. And maybe this idea that you find very silly is just something to bring back that joy. So why don't you write it? So I said, all right, fine. So I just started as a silly little exercise writing this little tale that I was getting. And I wrote it and I put it aside and I did what they say to do, which is give yourself a little time before you go back and read it. And I read it, and it was the worst thing I had ever written in my life. It was so bad, and I just laughed, and I thought, well, that was interesting, but I did have fun. I have to say I did enjoy it. So I put it aside. I'm working on my master's thesis about archetypes of the collective unconscious. And I needed a resource. I needed a quote, for my paper. So I pick up one of the books that I have as my literature, and I'm thumbing through it. And the name of the book is Goddesses in Every Woman. And I open the book, and I swear to you, on that page is the Greek myth that I have been writing. It was the story that I had written, and I did not know that what I was writing was basically just a retelling of a Greek myth. And that's when I thought, that's it. So now I have now put together, I'm almost done with book 2 of a trilogy, which is the origin story of the Greek myth of Hades and Persephone. Not what I would ever write, ever, because I used to write dark comedy. This takes place in 1694 BC. Do you have any idea how hard that is? But that's what was given to me. And you know what? It's actually brought me a lot of joy, and it's brought me back to the original joy of writing. And I only could have done that if I had been like, all right, fine, that's what you're telling me to do. I'll do it. I'll do it. So I can't encourage people enough to, when they get that spark, just do it. Just follow it. Don't resist it, because that is just your ego trying to get involved and, take your toys and go home type of thing, which is what I wanted to do.
And don't let anybody else talk you out of it either. That's what's important.
Yeah.
Because, they're not you.
Right.
They're not walking in your shoes. That is awesome. Well, so what advice would you have for somebody that's going through the dark night of the soul?
The first thing I would say is to accept where you are. Just accept that this is where I am. These things are happening. Some of them I can control. I can control my responses to them. I can't control what's going on, That would be the first thing. And then after you accept where you are, you need to take a breath, to let go, and to surrender. Just surrender and do exactly what you did and say, I don't know what's right for me anymore. I need help. I need help from whatever it is that is your higher power, whether you call it God, whether you call it the universe, spirit, the Holy Spirit, intuition, whatever that is. And then you'll find that God's going to throw you a bone. I mean, he's going to say, okay, all right, I see, you've just moved your chess piece. Well, let me give you something back a little bit. How about this? And he'll give you something like a ladder to get you out of the depression, to get you out of that, I can't do this, and I don't even want to get out of bed anymore feeling. And pay attention, really pay attention to what that is, and don't knock it. If you think it's silly, it might be silly, but it might not be the end result. I mean, what if you thought, I've always wanted to play the guitar. All right, fine. I'm intrigued. I'm really depressed. I need something to help me kind of lift myself out of this. I'm going to go take a guitar lesson. And in that guitar lesson, you meet someone who maybe says, oh, you've always wanted to, be an interior decorator, huh? Well, I actually happen to have a sister who is one. And why don't I connect you with her? And that's the way it works. I mean, it's just little, almost like Easter eggs. You got to find them, or little peanut shells. You got to go after the peanut shells. And the other thing that I would say is when you're down there in the dumps and you think, "Ooh, I don't know, I don't know if I can do this anymore." Sometimes it actually helps to completely shake up your routine, to stop doing the same old things that you've been doing. You know, you just need, it's kind of like hearing the same song over and over and over again. You might have really liked that song in the beginning, but now you've heard it. You know, I've just listened to the Macarena for like 100 times and I don't like that song anymore. I need to change it. So I would say to start changing up your routine. I think music is a great way to kind of lift your spirits. You know, if it means going to work every day listening to ridiculous, silly songs like Macarena or, you know, the YMCA or whatever it is that boosts your energy. I would say that's a good thing. If you have the tendency to take one route to work, take a different route. You know, just start mixing it up, start changing the channel so that it takes your brain out of this autopilot mode of misery. And now you have to be really conscious about the way you live. And that actually helps a lot, you know, just changing the channel. And sometimes it's not.
I have something to add to that too, because when you talk about changing the channel, and when I was sitting in my house all by myself, and I just remember thinking, not today. I'm not going to do this today. I'm going to find something else to do. And my neighbor just so happened to be having a garage sale. And I decided I'm going to go over and ask if I can help them today. I don't think he and I have been separated since that day. That just that tiny little, hey, can I help? I'm just over there cleaning off some glasses, you know, and he's in his own funk because his relationship just ended, and we just talked. Yeah. And I don't think we've been separated since that day, and that was almost 7 years ago.
That's fantastic. So now you have this sacred relationship. I mean, you know, how can you get any better than that? And it all came from that one tiny step, right? Of just taking yourself out of your routine. Yeah. I think it's fantastic.
Making that choice. It wasn't that it had to be big. It was just not today. I need something. And they just happened to be having a garage sale. Okay, I'm just gonna go next door. I'm just gonna help. And that was life-changing. That little step was life-changing for me.
Oh, completely. I mean, I had an epiphany also similar to yours, where you got the hell out of Dodge in California. And I spent the last 20 years in California also. And it's not to knock California, but it is to say that sometimes places just don't resonate with you. Yeah. You know, exactly. It might just, you know, I mean, and for whatever reason that might be, that your soul just doesn't anchor there. It doesn't feel like it belongs there. So once Aaron and I had made the decision, we're going to get out of here. We put together a 10-year plan to move out of California. We call it our escape plan because we had all this debt to pay off and, you know, money to save to try to put a down payment on a house somewhere else. But once we put that intention out there and we got really clear about where we wanted to go, and by the way, right now I'm in Sedona, Arizona, which is beautiful. Once we set the intention, we made a plan. God throws you a bone, the universe throws you a bone, and it all escalates. And my 10-year plan suddenly got cut to 5 because suddenly things came into being that made that a lot more possible. My 5-year plan got cut to 3 because all of a sudden, you know, stuff that had been anchoring me there in California, like my daughter, her dad lived in California. I didn't want to take her away from her dad, but guess what? He moved to Arizona. So, you know, my 5-year plan, now a 3-year plan. And then that ended up, I think, a 2-year plan. And she just finished middle school. And now that she's in high school, we thought, okay, let's all go. You know, we'll just all go and live there. And the finances fell into place. Everything falls into place when you get clear, when you get intentional, and when you're in alignment. And that's like the most important thing. If you're not in alignment with what your soul wants, there's going to be barrier after barrier after barrier. You're not listening. You have to listen.
And I find it very interesting that so many of us, the students of the university, make our way to Arizona, because I have been looking and I haven't found the perfect piece of land yet, but I'm going to find it. And
You
yeah,
are.
yeah, we will be there because I'm determined. I said I want to do something just really, I guess I don't want to say outrageous, but I believe that when I achieve this, other things will happen. I think it's going to open new doors for other metaphysicians and may become a training center, something along those
Mhm.
lines to be more involved, if that's possible.
Yeah. I think that's great. And that will happen because you've already made that intention. I can see it in your eyeballs.
Oh, yeah,
It's just,
most definitely. Oh yeah, I know. Phyllis says he goes, man, you dream big, don't you? I'm like, yeah, why not? Why
yeah,
not?
and guess what? Phil gets to come along for the ride. He's in
Yep.
it too.
And I love that about him, that he can be along for the ride. Not everybody can handle it. I mean, I could be scary to some people, I
Yeah.
mean, just, I mean, I'm sure people graduating with doctorates, it can be intimidating to some people and people fall off the radar. You're no
Mhm.
longer a viable friend, how we can't relate
Yeah.
to you anymore, you know, and
Yeah.
that's why the relationships end, because you're about to ascend into something really extraordinary. And this
Yeah.
process is a shedding of skin. It is a shedding of belief systems. It is a shedding of realities,
Yeah.
to bring new reality, to bring in those feelings of new birth, new locations, new places, new experiences, new relationships. And
Hmm.
the only thing I would tell somebody is be determined to survive it. You
Yeah.
don't have to know what's going to come after. You just
Hmm.
have to be determined to survive
Hmm.
it.
And know that it's all for your own good, even though it doesn't feel like it. It feels awful, but it's your soul saying, I think you can do better. And you can. It's all good. It's all good. But you got to listen, right? So.
Time. Well, it was absolutely wonderful meeting with you. Absolutely wonderful to see you again. I'm glad that you are thriving and happy. It just brings joy to my heart. And for all of you guys out there, know you are enough. You are loved. You are needed. Your joy means something to all of those around you, and don't be afraid to explore it. Don't let people tell you that you're too weird, you're too different. Your uniqueness is what's going to bring you the most joy. And it all connects. It doesn't matter if you just, you're into a certain subject matter, you like art, you like painting, follow it. Just do it.
Hmm.
It's going to connect you to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And all those little nuggets are going to just have your hands full of joy. Thank you guys for watching this episode of Intuitive Insights. I hope you found great value in it. And thank you again, Dr.